My name is Will Ferraby and I'm a knife maker. I love making knives because I'm using my hands to produce something out of metal, wood and leather usually. And it's a very elemental force using these different materials. They're all slightly different, but the longer you work with them, the more you get to discover what their parameters are. You can only really become a craftsman of a high degree by totally understanding your materials. Here we are in my workshop here in the middle of Sheffield on Bramall Lane. This is a Victorian cutlery works. But I remember when I first moved into this workshop, it had a certain ambience to it. It was a very pleasing feel in this whole building. It was a sense of work getting done. Knife making in Sheffield it's kind of like a citywide identity. It's a city of steel and the blades over the road, things like that. Another thing I do is I suppose I have links with some of the other old Sheffield guys. There's a few people still working in these old factories doing bits and bobs. I get my hardening and tempering done by Greensmiths over in Pitsmoor, and yeah, he's been there for a long time. You know, third generation cutlers, people who know a lot about knives. They've been great, giving me a bit of information and a bit of history. I think it's important to kind of ground yourself in the history of a place to understand where you are and what's in the future. There are no shortcuts in that knife making. You learn that fairly fast as you're doing it. You can only do things the long way. The long way is always the right way. But you do learn to understand your materials. And the more you understand your materials, the more you can get them to work for you. And I do this with all the experience that I've built up over the years. But I've got a very high standard. If a handle isn't working properly, I'll smash it off and put a new one on. And that is the only way to do things. There's the right way, the perfect way, and there is no other way. It's very pleasing because you start with just raw materials and then you produce something entirely yourself that's going to be used and is going to be around forever. And it's quite a nice feeling. So when people say, oh, is your business doing well? I always say yes, because it's always doing well. It doesn't necessarily produce millions of pounds, but it does produce a very high quality of life. I pride myself in doing what I do perfectly. Now, there's no such thing as perfect, of course, but I try to do things as well as I can do. And part of this is about knowing what the difference is between very good and excellent. And in my business, only excellent will do. And the difference is all about playing. It's about experimenting, about making mistakes, about getting to know your materials, your designs, getting to know all the different degrees of variance between very good and excellent. And only when you know all these degrees inside out, only then you can be excellent almost every time.